It was past midnight when Tessa's world fell apart. The house was quiet, too quiet, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the ticking wall clock that marked the seconds of her breaking heart. Marcus had fallen asleep on the couch, his phone glowing beside him. She only meant to turn it off. That's all. But then a message appeared on the screen: "I miss you already. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night, red heart hash." Her fingers froze. Her breath stopped. The contact name blinked on the screen: Lila. Her chest tightened so hard she thought she might faint. Lila. Her little sister. The same girl she once braided hair for, fought bullies for, and called her best friend. Tessa's mind raced through memories, family dinners, shared laughter, whispered secrets about never letting a man come between us. And now, the man in question was her husband. She looked at Marcus, the man who once promised forever, sleeping peacefully, unaware that his lies were lighting fires inside her chest. Her trembling hand scrolled up the messages: private jokes, love you, voice notes with laughter she knew too well. Tears blurred her vision. "Lila, how could you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Her knees weakened, she slid down the kitchen wall, phone still in her hand. At that moment, she wasn't just a betrayed wife. She was a broken sister. And nothing in her world would ever be the same again. Soft background music fades in, slow, emotional piano. Screen fades to black with her whisper echoing: "My husband's mistress was my sister." Soft piano music continues. The screen slowly fades from darkness to Tessa's tear-streaked face as she speaks directly to the viewers. Tessa, narrator. You know, people always talk about heartbreak, but they never tell you what it feels like to discover that the person betraying you shares your blood. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that their betrayal didn't just hurt, it destroyed your sense of what love even means? That night, as I sat on the cold kitchen floor holding Marcus's phone, I wasn't just angry. I was lost. Because how do you even begin to process that the two people you loved the most, your husband and your sister, were hiding something so cruel? I want you to imagine that for a second. The laughter you thought was love was a lie. The family dinners, the hugs, the shared secrets, all built on betrayal. If you've ever been hurt like that, if you've ever cried so hard your chest burned, then this story is for you. Because tonight, I'm going to tell you everything. Not just what happened between Marcus and me, but what it did to my heart, my faith, and my family. And before I begin, I want to hear from you. Would you forgive your sister? Would you forgive your husband? Or would you walk away forever? Comment below, tell me your thoughts, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true emotional stories that touch the soul. Because this one changed my life forever. Before the pain, there was peace. Before the lies, there was laughter. And before betrayal, there was love, real, simple, and pure. My name is Tessa Carter, 32 years old, living in Atlanta, Georgia. I worked as a high school counselor, the kind of person everyone came to when they needed advice or comfort. My world was calm, structured, predictable. I liked it that way. I believed love was supposed to be safe, like coming home after a long day and smelling coffee and warmth in the air. Then there was Marcus, my husband. He was confident, charming, the kind of man who made people laugh without even trying. He ran a small construction company, loved jazz music, and had a smile that could melt away anger. He wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my safe place. We had built a quiet life together, a small house on the south side of Atlanta, 2 rescue dogs, and a dream of starting a family someday soon. And then there was Lila, my little sister. 5 years younger, wild and free-spirited, with eyes that could light up a room. Where I was calm, she was chaos, but the kind you couldn't help but love. She had just moved to Atlanta to start fresh after a rough breakup. I opened my door and my heart to her without hesitation. Our bond was unshakable. She was more than my sister, she was my shadow growing up. We shared secrets, clothes, laughter, everything. At that time, life felt full. Sunday barbecues with Marcus, movie nights with Lila, dinners filled with laughter. I used to look at them both and think, this is happiness. I didn't know that same laughter would soon echo in betrayal and that the people I trusted most would destroy everything I believed in. Still remember the day I met Marcus like it happened yesterday. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in downtown Atlanta. I was volunteering at a community fundraiser, the kind of event filled with folding chairs, laughter, and homemade pies. I was rushing around, trying to carry 2 cups of coffee and a box of flyers when it happened. I bumped right into someone. Coffee spilled, papers flew everywhere, and I froze. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," I blurted out, reaching for napkins. That's when I looked up and saw him. Tall, with gentle brown eyes and the kind of smile that made everything else fade. He laughed softly, helping me pick up the scattered papers. "No harm done," he said. Though I think my shirt just became part mocha. I couldn't help but laugh. Something about him was easy, light, like I'd known him forever. We spent the rest of the afternoon chatting while we worked side by side, handing out flyers. He told me he owned a small construction firm and was just trying to give back to the city that built him. I told him I was a counselor who believed people could be fixed, or at least, understood. Before he left, he asked, "So, does the woman who baptizes strangers in coffee get a second chance to make an impression?" I smiled and handed him my number. From that moment, everything changed. Our texts turned into calls. Calls turned into dinners. Dinners turned into nights spent talking until the sun came up. He wasn't like anyone I'd met before. He was steady, funny, and full of dreams. He made me feel safe, the kind of safe that made you believe love was worth every risk. I remember calling Lila that same night, gushing about this amazing man I met. She teased me, saying, "You sound like you've already fallen." Maybe she was right. Looking back now, I realize that moment was more than fate. It was the start of everything beautiful, and everything that would eventually break me. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive to heal you. Sometimes, it comes to teach you how deeply you can hurt. From that first coffee-stained meeting, Marcus and I just fit. He'd call in the evenings after work, and we'd talk about everything from favorite foods to the mistakes we'd both made in past relationships. I loved how honest he was. He listened like my thoughts mattered. On our first real date, he took me to a small diner near Piedmont Park. We sat by the window eating fries from the same plate, laughing until the waiter asked if we wanted dessert or oxygen. He told me he admired how I looked at the world like people still deserved second chances. Soon we were inseparable. We spent weekends driving with the windows down, singing off-key to old R&B songs. He'd hold my hand on the steering wheel and say, "You make even traffic look good." When I had rough days at the counseling office, Marcus would leave sticky notes on the mirror. "You save hearts for a living, don't forget your own." It felt like love was simple, 2 people choosing each other, every day. 6 months later, he met my family. Lila, as usual, stole the attention with her loud laugh and bold lipstick. Marcus got along with her easily, teasing me about how we sounded like twins when we argued. It didn't bother me then. It actually made me happy that the 2 people I loved most could laugh together. A year after that, he proposed. It was at Lake Lanny, just after sunset. The sky turned pink and gold as he dropped to one knee and whispered, "Let's build forever." I cried before I even said yes. Our wedding was small, friends, family, and a few string lights in my parents' backyard. Lila stood beside me as my maid of honor, fixing my veil and whispering, "You finally found your person." I believed her. Married life started softly, shared toothbrush cups, burned breakfasts, slow dances in the living room. We built our own routines, Friday takeout, Sunday church, Monday complaints about work. Every laugh felt real, every touch felt safe. Then came Lila's breakup. She called me crying one night, saying her boyfriend had cheated and she had nowhere else to go. I didn't even hesitate. "Come stay with us," I said. "Family first." Marcus agreed immediately. "She can have the guest room," he said with that same warm smile. And just like that, my 2 worlds, my marriage and my sisterhood, blended under one roof. I thought it was temporary. I thought we'd help her heal. But sometimes, love's worst mistakes start with good intentions. At first, having Lila in the house felt right. She needed family, and I was glad to give her that. She unpacked her suitcase in the guest room, filled the kitchen with her laughter, and promised she'd be gone once she got back on her feet. Marcus was kind to her. Too kind, maybe. He cooked her favorite meals, drove her to interviews, and joked that she was the little sister he never had. I told myself it was harmless. But then small things started to feel off. I'd come home from work and find them on the couch, laughing at some inside joke I didn't understand. One night I heard them in the kitchen at midnight, whispering and giggling while making pancakes. When I walked in, they stopped talking so quickly it was almost silent. Lila brushed it off. We were just hungry, Tess. Marcus added, you worry too much. And I wanted to believe them. But unease has a sound, a faint hum under normal life. I began hearing it everywhere. Marcus started coming home later. Lila spent more time getting ready. I found her perfume lingering in the hall after he left for work. One morning, I noticed her lipstick on a mug that wasn't hers. I told myself I was imagining it. Because if it were true, if they were crossing that line, what would that make of all the love we'd built? The tension grew until it filled every room. We still ate dinner together, but the laughter sounded rehearsed. I'd catch them exchanging glances that ended too quickly. One evening, Marcus said he was going to a late meeting. Hours passed. His phone went to voicemail. When he finally walked in, I asked where he'd been. He said, the office, but his eyes darted away. Later that night, I found Lila's earring in his car when I went to grab my charger. She said she must have borrowed it earlier, that it probably fell there. Something inside me cracked. That weekend, I suggested that maybe Lila should stay with a friend for a while. She laughed nervously and said, you think something's going on, don't you? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I wanted to believe my marriage was stronger than suspicion, that my sister's heart wasn't capable of betrayal. But deep down, I already knew something sacred had been touched, and it would never feel the same again. It was a Friday night, the kind of night that used to mean takeout and a movie. Marcus said he had to work late again. Lila said she was meeting a friend for dinner. Two excuses that should have felt normal, but something inside me twisted. Hours passed. I tried reading, cleaning, distracting myself, but the silence in the house was loud. Around midnight, Marcus's phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit up with a message. I miss you already. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Red heart # Lila. Everything in me went still. My hand shook as I opened the thread. Dozens of messages. Pictures. Plans. Jokes. Then, a photo that cut the air out of my lungs, Marcus's hand on Lila's waist, both of them smiling at a rooftop bar. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind replayed every moment they'd shared under my roof, the whispers, the glances, the laughter. I felt dizzy, my vision tunneling. When Marcus came home, I was waiting. The phone lay on the table like a weapon. Who is she? I asked quietly. He looked at the screen and froze. His mouth opened, then closed. Tessa, Don't lie, I said, my voice breaking. It's Lila, isn't it? He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. Minutes later, the front door opened. Lila stepped in, startled to see us both awake. Her eyes darted to the phone, then to me. Her face drained of color. Tess, please, she started, voice trembling, it's not what you think. I stood, shaking, tears blurring my sight. Then tell me what it is, Lila. Tell me how you could do this to me. She cried, saying it started as comfort, that Marcus listened, that she didn't mean for it to happen. But every word sounded like noise, like betrayal screaming in my ears. Marcus reached out, saying, it was a mistake. I pulled back. No. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was a choice. The air was thick with sobs, anger, and disbelief. Lila fell to her knees, begging me to forgive her. Marcus tried to speak, but I couldn't look at either of them. In that moment, the woman I'd been, the trusting wife, the loyal sister, died. I packed a small bag and walked out into the cold night, barefoot, still wearing my wedding ring. Behind me, I could hear them crying, calling my name, but I kept walking. Because sometimes, the loudest answer is the sound of a door closing. The city felt colder after that night. Atlanta lights flickered on the highways, but inside me, it was dark. I stayed with a friend for a week, packing only the essentials: clothes, my favorite journal, and a small photo of happier times with Marcus and Lila. Marcus called, texted, left messages that begged for forgiveness. "I love you. It was a mistake. Please come back." I didn't answer. Not then. Lila left the city quietly, moving in with a friend across the state. She sent a short message. "I'm sorry, Tessa. I never wanted to hurt you." Her absence was a quiet echo in the apartment I once shared with Marcus. I walked through each room, remembering laughter, the smell of burnt toast, Sunday mornings with pancakes and coffee. It was all gone. Therapy became my lifeline. Every session, I unpacked the anger, the shame, the sorrow. I learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt your heart, it shifts your soul. Months passed. I changed small things in my routine. I took evening walks, tried new cafes, and started teaching a pottery class, something I had always wanted to do but never made time for. The clay on my hands grounded me, shaped me, reminded me that I could mold a new life, even from broken pieces. Marcus showed up at the lake where we'd spent summers talking about dreams. He asked to talk. "I've changed. I'll prove it. Please, just give me a chance." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the man who had betrayed me, the man I had loved, and the man I no longer recognized. I shook my head. "No. Not yet. Maybe never. But I wish you the lesson you need. Some wounds never fully close. But some mornings, the sun feels warmer anyway." I moved into a small apartment closer to my work, decorating it with plants and light. Every morning, I poured coffee into my favorite mug, opened my journal, and reminded myself that I was stronger than heartbreak. And slowly, I began to love life again, not for Marcus or Lila, not for anyone else, but for me. Because survival doesn't mean forgetting. It means living anyway. Sitting by the lake, watching the sun stretch golden fingers across the water, I finally understood something I hadn't realized in the chaos of betrayal. Love doesn't always protect you from pain. Sometimes, it reveals it. I had loved Marcus with everything I had. I had loved Lila like she was part of me. And they had broken that trust. It hurt in ways I couldn't have imagined, and for a long time, it felt unbearable. But through the hurt, I learned a deeper truth. The strength to survive heartbreak isn't found in the people who betray you, it's found in yourself. Love isn't just about joy. It's also about clarity. It teaches you who deserves your trust, who values your heart, and who only takes it for granted. I realized I didn't need anyone to fix me. I didn't need apologies to feel whole. I needed myself, my courage, my voice, my dignity. And in that realization, I found freedom. Freedom from guilt, from anger, from the shadow of what once was. Life would always carry the memory of what happened. But memory doesn't have to control you. You can remember, learn, and move forward stronger, wiser, and ready to protect your heart while still believing in love. Because love, real love, starts with yourself. Tessa looks directly at the camera, soft lighting, gentle but firm expression. Tessa, narrator. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I shared it not just because it happened to me, but because so many of us face heartbreak in ways that feel impossible to overcome. I want to ask you, what would you have done if your trust was broken by the people you loved most? Could you forgive? Or would you walk away and rebuild yourself, like I did? Take a moment to think about that. And if this story touched your heart, please share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, or even your own lessons about love, trust, and resilience. And if you want more stories like this, stories that are emotional, dramatic, and sometimes shocking, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that makes you feel, reflect, and sometimes, heal. Remember, heartbreak can teach you strength. Betrayal can reveal your courage. And moving forward, that's where your power lies. Because in the end, surviving and learning to love yourself again is the greatest love story you'll ever live.